Hello and welcome to the Merle and Locke podcast. I'm Merle.
And I'm Locke.
Set sail and low expectations for everything nerd, accompanied by a healthy, albeit shameful helping of pointless banter, lack of focus, and questionably acquired knowledge. Now, unfortunately, today we received some bad news about someone that has passed away. We were talking about it. And I actually wanted to get on the subject and hear your thoughts on mortality, right? I know it's a downer of a subject, sure, but it's something that we all have to face eventually, and admittedly, yeah, within at least America's society, we look poorly on mortality, and we try to shield ourselves from it constantly to the point where we change the terminology of it oftentimes. Like instead of saying like, "Oh, my mom died." Right? Instead of saying died, because that's such a abrasive word, we say like, "Oh, my mom passed away," or "she passed on." And now we're getting to the point where I'm seeing it more and more, especially like on the internet, where someone will say somebody was unalived.
Well, no, you know kind of the reason why, right? Or at least from what I had noticed.
No, I don't. I have no idea. Fill me in.
When it comes to like social media and especially like TikTok, you cannot say certain things like die, kill, like those are really bad words to choose.
Okay, so they don't get, those videos don't get much traction if they include those certain words.
So they have to be like, oh, they're unalived, or they unalive themselves. Like this is, they can't say certain words. I guess that's what I was told.
Okay, that makes sense. So as far as social media goes, it's also very touchy on that subject. Maybe because people find it. Well, I mean, there's obviously a reason for it. So maybe people find it offensive in some sense, that they don't want to see those subjects. So they'll often like click the little button to say like, don't show me these kinds of posts that talk about death, because it's a sensitive subject. Yeah. No, I understand that, and I understand why people want to avoid it, because it is something that, yes, we all have to face, but it's something that we don't want to face until the time comes, right? Now, I know in many cultures it's something that's ingrained in them, like the idea of it, like they come to terms with it more easily, because they've accepted it as a part of life.
Yeah, I mean they some of them might be ones who consider it to be a sign of new beginning.
Yeah, and what is it Buddhism, where they believe in reincarnation?
I believe so.
Yeah, probably. There's probably other cultures that believe the same thing. I don't know if it's strictly Buddhism or if that's just included in Buddhism. I don't know, but it's something that I was always afraid of. Like when I was young, like I have an older family. I remember growing up, and like the first things I knew, like since I can remember, like I've had family members that just started, like not trying to be insensitive here, but they were like dropping like flies, right? Like all these members of my family were passing on. It would give me this anxiety. Like it wasn't hidden from me. Like you were telling me a story earlier about your mother shielding you from your great grandmother's funeral, and but that was, I was never shielded from it. It was just, you know, it treated like as a normal thing. And it gave me so much anxiety as a child, to the point where I would constantly think about it. And I would get these panic attacks constantly as a child, where my mother would have to talk me down, right? Where like I would say like what's going to happen? Where do you go? How, like, it was, the fact was unbelievable to me that everything you know and perceive is just gone all of a sudden, right? I couldn't come to terms with that fact. It was just unacceptable to me, and it was unfair, you know. I was like, so for everything that I love, all these passions that I have, all these things that I want to do, like one day it's just all going to be gone, right? So it seemed like everything that I've achieved, that I was going to achieve, or I planned to achieve, or that I have achieved, like everything, nothing would matter because it would all be gone from me one day. And it was difficult for me to come to terms with that fact. Now, did you ever have any anxieties about your mortality, you know, growing up? Like, when's the earliest you can remember having to, you know, find a way to come to terms with that?
See, like, I had some pets when I was younger. I mean, even I was shielded from whenever they had passed, right? So I remember my sister had a hamster, and when he had passed, like, they wouldn't even let me see the hamster. They're just like, no, like, he died, he passed away. And I was just like, what? Like, you know, yeah, and plus I was a kid, I seen plenty of movies. Like, I feel like a lot of movies that we watched at the time really had, like, these lessons to be learned that for someone like me who was kind of, like, shielded away from it, and they're like, no, let's not talk about this, let's not think about this, let's think happy thoughts. I seen all these movies, and I'd watch, like, these death scenes, and you know what, I was just watching something about the Iron Giant, and you know what, I'm going to use it. So the Iron Giant at the end, when he disappears, or better yet, Lion King, when the father's laying there, like, that's gut-wrenching as a child to watch it and go,
absolutely,
oh my god, like, yo, what, daddy, what? move, Mufasa.
Going back to that, sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah, that's all right.
But before we lose that thought, I do remember seeing it was like a clip on Instagram or something, where somebody was bringing up the point of, like, you know, what the movies that kids watch today and things, and it's always like happy-go-lucky and motivating and inspiring and this, that, and the other, and they're saying, like, why are we so traumatized? And then it goes back to, like, these movies that we used to watch, where, like, all these people, all these dudes are dying, and we're like forced to, like, we're watching these movies and we're forced to come to terms with mortality constantly in these movies.
Right.
It's like with Bambi, you know, Bambi's mother dying, or Lion King and his father dying, and it was like, why? Because we're all, like, traumatized by it as children. But you know what? It's like, in a way, you know, I'm kind of appreciative of it. Like, trying to come to terms with it early on like that. Yes, it's rough as a child because it's hard to make sense of if you think about it and you really consider the implications of it. But is that better than the way it is these days, with how, you know, people or kids are being completely shielded from it, as if they have no idea? You know, is that better? Like, which is better, in your opinion?
I honestly could not tell you, because that only shows if you're really observant to see what these kids I mean, plus how their whole life situation, like how their family raises them on that situation.
Right. Now, in my opinion, I think it was better the way that we experienced, yeah? Because I mean, I remember back in the day, like the conversation of death wasn't taken lightly,
Right.
right? Because we've considered it, and we've not necessarily like witnessed it, but we were subjected to it like through different like movies and stuff like that, and we weren't shielded from it, so we didn't take it lightly. But nowadays, when you see kids, like when kids are having conversations, they'll talk about it so casually,
All right.
to the point where it's like it's a little, it's odd, because they don't take it as seriously as we did as kids,
Right.
and the casualness of it is just, it seems kind of like for some reason the word that keeps coming up in my mind is like it's like ignorant or disrespectful to death in general. It's like, because the whole concept of death is, to me at least, it's such a it seems like such a sacred thing, right? Like it's such an important thing, almost as important as birth, right? When you're born, you're brought into this world, and you get to experience it and love it. But then when you die, you return to the earth, and everything in your being is absorbed and brought back to this planet that you've thrived on for so long. Like it's just, it seems to me like just as sacred, right? So to be able to talk so casually and be like ignorant to it, it seems disrespectful in my mind for some reason. I can't explain. It's difficult to explain.
When people bring up like any sort of thing, like even if it's something that happened years ago to them, like somebody who's older who's just like, my parents passed away, da 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 da. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Even though, like, I know it's a part of life, it's the cycle of life, but I can't help but be empathetic and want to show that I'm sorry.
Yeah, but it's just like, my whole point is like yes, it's so sad, but if you think about it, like in the grand scheme of things, like you know what we are in nature, but like our place in nature, I suppose. This sounds kind of hippie-ish, I feel.
Right up my alley, man. Right up my alley.
No, it seems like it, but like everything that this planet has given to us and sacrificed to give us life, and us, like, our ultimate way of giving back is giving ourselves back to the planet by dying, by our mortality. It's like there's a poetic nature to it, I think.
Yeah.
Where we're never actually gone. We just, we finally become one with this world that has given so much to us. Instead of finding our place within it and finding a way to thrive, we're a part of it and helping other lives thrive.
So, damn, how good is this shit? What another hit. Sorry, I had to make a little joke about the whole thing.
No, it's good.
No, I've had those random moments of mortality, and it usually happened to me at night when I was younger. Like, that's when my mind went on the fritz. And I remember explaining when I was a kid, I was just like, I can't stop thinking about this, and Mom's just like, no, it's your brain. You can tell your brain anything that you want it to. Like, you can stop thinking about it. I was like, no, I can't So was that early signs of ADHD or anxiety? Who knows? But I used to think about the mortality. I used to think about what happened if these people that I know and love had passed, and boy, if that didn't get you every time.
Oh man, absolutely. I thought that was the biggest anxieties I had as a kid, was not necessarily my own mortality, but the mortality of, yes, the others that I loved. You know, like what if I get to the point where they're no longer here and I'm left to my own devices, you know? That whole thing just gave me so much anxiety. And then plus, like, you know, plus with religion, yeah, like, because I've grown up with so much religion in my life, and like the fact of, you know, the whole, you know, heaven and hell,
Right.
right? That gave me incredible amounts of anxiety.
Right.
I'm like, what if I go to heaven and everyone I know and love go to hell? I was like,
or vice
like,
versa.
oh my God.
I'm all alone.
Oh man, it was just a horrible thought, and it just plagued my mind constantly.
I never put that much thought into that. I really didn't think about it. Now, I wasn't like raised on it, maybe on the level that you were. I wasn't told, hey, you need to go do this. No, I kind of chose it. Like I went to different congregations.
Took that time to explore.
Yeah,
you know?
explore
Yeah.
different avenues, and I don't know. I mean, if you find a community that you trust and you like what they're teaching you and whatnot, then
Something that's compelling.
that's for you.
Absolutely.
I'm not judging anybody for it. I don't condone people who push people on the subject. Like they need to find out themselves. You can lead the horse to water, but you can't make them drink it.
So you're saying like push, like as in people trying to bring you into the fold of their religion.
Right.
Okay. I thought you were talking more on the fact of atheists or trying to prove religion wrong or whatever.
I guess there are some people, mainly in the age of internet, that do that, but like growing up before the internet really blew up, I don't really recall anybody being like, God doesn't exist, and here's all my reasoning why. Listen, kid. That would terrify me as a child.
Oh, it is. It's like they're so upfront about it too. Oh, it's awful. Like, why would you try to just, you know, like if somebody's like, so often you'll see people who are like heavily religious, right? And they have this sense of purpose, you know, they found this sense of purpose in their life, and they've found this inner peace, you know, to the turmoil that we constantly have as people, and our thoughts on things, and like the religion brings so much peace to people's lives. Just to have someone who's absolutely miserable, you know, and doesn't believe in any religions, and they just try to completely crap on you. Like it's such a silly thing. I don't know why anybody would want to do it. Well, I guess like misery loves company.
That's right. Misery loves company.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess that's probably the reasoning, because they're miserable, so they want you to be miserable. Man, that takes me back to a former video that or former podcast that we had. The level of misery, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But everybody just wants you to be miserable.
Just keep sucking them in. Once you feed into that energy, you give them that energy. It's like adding fuel to the fire, and you just keep going with it until you feel spent.
back on the subject mortality. Now, so my sense of finding peace with mortality, right, is the fact that, like I was explaining earlier, how you give yourself back to nature, where you're never actually gone. You're just a part of nature now, helping others to thrive. Like whether that be complete strangers, whether that be that your family that survives, right? It's you're giving back, right? And you're helping them all to thrive. And like that thought, like even though I might not be conscious, right? It's comforting. Like I find comfort in that thought. Now, is there anything that you have convinced yourself of, or any belief systems that you have that have helped you come to terms with your own mortality?
I will live forever like the vampire that I am, and
Oh,
watch
okay.
everything come to pass.
Oh
Oh,
man.
I don't know. I've thought about the idea of reincarnation, and that helped me a good bit growing up. I mean, because it helped explain off some of the other things that I had seen growing up, and like just like you ever have that like moment of deja vu that feels like you've done it, you've heard it before, and you're like, wow, this is super familiar. I don't think that this has happened before. And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
some people say it's a part like reincarnation, that you have kind of lived that moment before, like something like that was said to you in the past that you recall, or
I've heard also that there's theories of the fact that you inherit memories from your ancestral line,
right.
right? And they may the moments of deja vu aren't necessarily your own memories, but the memories of past relatives. Uh, yeah, I've heard that theory as well. I mean, what do we know for sure? I have no
Right.
idea, but
I mean, it's all, as I see it, kind of just a belief system that helps you get through the hard times. Something to get you through, and maybe the ancestors weren't wrong in that fact that they had these belief systems that kind of helped them and helped them move on from the stuff, so that they weren't dwelling on the past. They're just like, here you go, here's a nice little tale to tell your children, and
yeah, I mean, there is many anxieties, like considering the future and what's in store for us. But the the level of uncertainty, right? Like it's difficult to convince someone not to be anxious about it, but to find excitement in it. Like an entirely new adventure. You're going into not necessarily uncharted lands, but you're going into lands that no one living has charted, right? It's not something that they're able to. No one's able to. So you're moving on to like the sense of mystery. Like I said, it's difficult to convince somebody to be excited about it. No one's
no,
excited about it,
no,
but I mean, like when you're faced with it, right? If you can, like I believe, it's hard to think that I will be, but like deep down, if I really think about it, I feel like when I'm finally faced with that, I find comfort in the fact that I believe that I myself will find excitement in the fact that I don't know what lies on the other side, but I'm about to find out.
I I have a list of things that I would like to be done at the time of my pass, and a lot of it is stuff that I was told I'm not allowed to do.
Oh,
Like, I would like a Viking funeral.
oh man. Okay.
So, yeah.
That would be amazing.
Send me out on a little wooden boat, set it ablaze, and there you go. Viking funeral.
Would that be good? There's probably laws against that by now.
Yep, no. Unless as far as I know, unless you're to be taken out into international waters.
Aw, man, isn't that a bummer? I mean, if you think about it, with how big our population is and the amount of people, that'd be...
I think that's just ridiculous, though. I mean, come on.
Well, no,
what's so wrong about it? What's so wrong about a Viking funeral?
No, there's
what's so wrong
about
like, sending your ancestors' ashes out into the sky? What is wrong with that? What's the big deal?
What's the deal? Oh man, no, like I was saying, with the amount of people in our, how populated it is, if we had everybody decide they wanted Viking funerals, we would have like dams in rivers with the amount of like little wooden boats with dead corpses in them. I know it's a little macabre to think about, but in all reality, that's a lot. That's weird. There's a lot of people that
the bodies will decompose a lot better than they would if they were kept in a box underground. Which is pretty grim to think about. That I feel like that's more grim to think about than sending people out, because at least you could be like, this is what people believed in and that this is what they did.
Now, realistically, right? Would you rather the boat send off or like the pyre send off?
Oh, you mean like a Darth Vader pyre?
Yeah, like a Darth Vader pyre.
As long as you dressed me up as Darth Vader and put me in a pyre, I'd be fine with that too, I guess.
Oh, good Lord. Thank you for joining us on the Merle and Locke podcast. If you enjoyed this banter, please consider becoming a patron by going to patreon.com/Merle and Locke, or simply follow the link in the description. Thank you.